So for me, interested in sports, not interested what my dad made me do early on. Dad kicked us out of the door when it came to getting us involved in stuff. He wanted us to be active. He didn't want us to be sitting around and not doing anything. So I started playing football when I was 6. And I mean tackle football. And baseball the same year, and basketball we started really early, just in terms of getting involved with different organizations. But my dad, he really wanted us to be active. He wanted us to be involved with community stuff. We had a rec center that we grew up when we went to, and it was like home away from home. Like we weren't at home, we were at the rec center. If our parents weren't there, because that was like a home away from home, somewhere for us to get out. But we started playing ball very, very early.
Was football always your favorite sport?
No, I grew up, baseball was my favorite sport, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the idea of stealing bases and not getting caught. I got caught 3 times in high school, only got caught once in middle school. So I just felt like baseball was it. You know, that's what I was going to do, and I could play all over the place. I played shortstop, I played second base, I played center field. They put me in left. I really didn't like playing left field. I like playing center field because I can control everything. So I can ball hog a little bit, if you will. If I was in center field and the ball's hit like left center, really on the left side, I'm going to get that ball. And as a center fielder, you get a chance to call them off. So baseball was my love coming up when it came to that. I just enjoyed playing baseball. So then, obviously, the other 2 sports began to take off.
Okay. Now, when you played high school football, of course.
Yeah.
Now, the school that you went to in Indiana, was it considered a powerhouse high school program? There's some TJ around here. There's some big programs.
Right. So I went to school in Chicago.
Okay.
And I played my high school football in Chicago, but it was considered a powerhouse in football. It was the same in basketball, but our baseball team sucked. We were pretty terrible in baseball. I know it was my love, but we were pretty terrible in it. But football was, we were always ranked in the state, and we always got that recognition from that standpoint. And it was always, my first year I played JV ball. Like it's crazy. So my mom, when it was time for me to go to high school, I got to double back a little bit. So my mom is something else, let me just tell you that. A woman of faith, and really the fact that I'm here and even alive. And my mom, I think she was 5 years old, she was playing on their balcony. The balcony's like 3 stories up. And she was playing on the balcony, and she climbed on top of the thing, was playing, and she slipped. And she fell down, all the way down to the bottom. And she fell on a dog. Oh, wow. So I just tell you that story because God spared my mom's life very on for me to even be here. And I think about that all the time, and how God is always involved in everything. And that was one part when she told me, and she didn't tell me that, I think I was 12 or something like that. And at the time I was thinking, that's cool, that's great. But as I got older, I started realizing God has had his hand on my life from the very beginning. I was hit by a car when I was 10 years old, and I've been involved with so many little crazy things that God said, no, I'm going to keep you here. I'm going to keep you here. No need for you to go out. I'm going to keep you here. You got injured here, hurt here. I'm going to keep you here. And I share that with you because you are still here. Amen. Each and every one of you are still here for a reason. And it's not by accident that you're even here today. It's not by accident that you're at the job that you're at. It's not by accident that you may be without a job. Amen. But because God has you in the situation you're in, it's for a reason. And everything that happens is for a reason, for us to turn back and ask for his help, his support. And not only ask for his help and support, but begin to turn around and tell people about what God is doing for us. In the midst of the nonsense, in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the struggle, we have to be able to still turn around and say, God is good, God is great, and look at what he's doing for me. I may be without a job today, this very moment, but I know what God has for me in the future. And if we continue to believe and look at it that way, we have to realize and know that walking in that faith, knowing God is going to bless us, that's the thing that gets us over day after day. Because obviously with my mom, her telling me that story, and me having this car accident, and then going and being as successful as I've been, it's almost as if, you know, God continue to has his hand on me, wherever I am, whatever I'm doing. And again, I'm no different from you guys. Everybody here, you are still here. You are still alive and you are still well. And because you're here, we have to be able to celebrate that more than anything. That means you got another day. You got another day to be here on this earth, another day to be able to share God's word, and another day to be able to be here and knowing that I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow, but I know this day, I'm going to make the best out of this day. Because when it's all said and done, that's the only thing that matters. We think about the things that's happened in the past, we think about the things we want to do in the future, but the question is, what are we doing right now? What are we doing right now? And I had to double back. I don't know how we got there, but that's how as we were praying, I was sitting up and I was saying, Holy Spirit, lead me, guide me, take me where you want to take me, because there's so many things that happen in our life for a reason, and we overlook them. And then sometimes when we look back on them, we realize, oh my goodness, that's why that happened. And it not only inspires us for the future, but it inspires us for the right now, the present. So live your life and take advantage of what you have right now. Because as we walk out of here, we don't know if tomorrow is promised. We don't know if the next 2 or 3 hours are promised. And we're gonna go a little further.
Okay, we'll get back to that.
Oh, how we got it. We talk about baseball and basketball. Yeah.
Now, one of the outreaches of our church here is at a local nursing home. And some of these folks, that's how I got to know these guys and some others. And Pastor Walker, she works with me down
how you doing, Pastor?
County Nursing Home. And that's our biggest thing, trying to remind the folks there, you're still here. God's not done with you.
Yeah, you're still here. That is so awesome. I love, I don't want to say that elderly, but I'll just be candid, like my mom always tells me, I love old folks. I love the stories that they have. I love where they've been, how they come up, how they see things back then used to be 10 cents, you know, that little stuff like that. I love to hear that story, those stories. I talk to my grandmother all the time, and she gives me all kind of stories. It's just like, I gotta call grandma, I want to hear some stories, you know, because she gives me that. It's just something about somebody who's lived so long. There's something about them. They just have something. It's something different. They've been through something. They've experienced life, and they, you know, not that they know what's going to happen tomorrow, but they feel like they can really tell you this is what's going to happen. So I love to be able to sit and talk to old folks.
Some people among the elderly crowd. They've been through a lot.
You do, and you realize why they are who they are because of what they've been through. And at one point I thought, there's no way I could speak into an elderly person's life. Like, they've been through it, they know it, like it's just all right. But wait a minute, they're still here too, and not all of them know Christ yet. Just because somebody is old and up in age does not mean that they know Christ. And they can still come to know Christ and still end up in heaven from that point on. So
they can still bring someone else.
That's right. So it don't matter if you're speaking to somebody that's 5 and you're speaking to somebody that's 105. When it comes to sharing the gospel, share it, because you don't know who you're inspiring, whose life's going to be changed because of that. So the way I always look at it is, changed people can change the world. So let God change you so you can begin to change the world. So changed people can change the world.
Everybody write that down and remember. Hey, now when you were playing ball in high school, was there a point where you knew you were going to be good enough?
Oh yeah. I used to, not a moment, you can ask my mom, my dad used to think I was crazy. I would go around in my freshman and sophomore year, I would sign my autograph on everything. You didn't have to ask. I would sign my autograph. I would sign my autographs on people's books and everything. I just knew it. Now I didn't know at the time I didn't know which sport it would be, because I've always wanted to play pro ball. It didn't matter which one came along. Baseball came along first. Mom and dad said, nope, you're not going. You're going to go to college and, you know, get your degree. I had talked to them for 2 or 3 months because I was upset with them at the time. But and I always felt like nobody's going to outwork me. I would not, I don't care who you are. You may be more talented than me. You may have more skills. You may be taller. You may be faster. But when it came to hard work, when it comes to putting the work in, I was not going to be outdone from that perspective. And I knew if I did that, I knew I could show up to people who, you know, had all the talent, people who had, were taller than me or bigger than me. Because I always got to the point I felt like I'm just gonna run a circle. I'm gonna run circles around you until you can't breathe anymore. That's the way I felt. I just feel like
you really had to work at it. It didn't come to you.
Nah, that's what everybody did. And the ones it just comes to, and don't get me wrong, you're gonna have some ability. I have some ability. A lot of my friends have some abilities that it just come to you. But you still got to be able to go out and work your craft. That's just part of it. I don't care who you are, what you can be in a job right now, and you can be the smartest at your job. If you stop trying to work your craft, you won't continue to be the smartest. Because I'll give you a quick story. We or just a little an analogy as we come through. When you get drafted, I got drafted in 2002. So in 2000, let's say 2004, 2005, go into the next year, 2003. I'm no longer competing against the people who are in the league. I'm competing against those fresh new bodies that are coming in the league. Those draft picks, those free agents every year. That's who I was competing against. So if I wasn't working on my craft, getting better at it, trying to make sure I was doing what I was supposed to do, the next guys that was coming in, they plucked me right out, put somebody else in. So it's not about, where you are. Yeah, it's good where you are, but are you trying to improve on what you have? What's your next step? What's your goals to become better? You can be the greatest IT person. Well, work harder and try to invent something. Because I can tell you what, you got so many kids who getting out of college, going to Stanford, getting all these Harvard, getting all these different degrees, and they will pluck you out of your spot and put them in there in a minute. If you don't have something else, if you're not doing better than what you did. You can't be doing the same thing on your job that you did 10 years ago. Because at some point, you're going to get replaced. And it's not like that everywhere, but 95% of jobs and areas they're trying to replace because they got new, people coming in.
Lots of people. So you started Indiana.
Yep.
You went in as quarterback from the very beginning, right?
Yes.
What was your typical training day as a Division I athlete?
So I give you training day in the summer, and I give you one during the school year. So during the school year, you have 5:30 workouts. So you got to be in your shorts and on that field at 5:30. If you're walking down the hill at 5:30, you're not in line, then you don't want to be late. Let's just say that. So you start at 5:30, you get your hour and a half workout in, and you had to be showered and in your class by 8 o'clock. After your 8 o'clock class, I try to do 8 to 9, because after the 9 o'clock class, I can go home and go to sleep and get a nap before lunch. Because after the 8 o'clock class, I will come home, give me a quick nap, get up, give me some lunch, go to my next class, and after that, you will have a workout. So you have a 2-hour or hour and a half lift. After an hour and a half lift, you will go right into your regular practice, which started like 3:30, 4 o'clock, depending on what day it was. And then from there, you have a 2-hour practice. After that practice, you have film study. After that, which is about 7:30, you have a mandatory study hall, which goes from 7:30 to 9:30, and then you're released to go to your dorm. Now, they expect you to be in your dorm by 10 o'clock, lights out at 11. That's typical of what you want. And that's during the school year. In the summertime, it's a different deal. In the summertime, you have a 5:30 workout, you have a 10:30 workout, you have a 2:30 workout. After your 2:30 workout, you were released to do whatever you wanted to do. But here's the deal. You had to make sure you had 2 summer school classes, and you had to have a job. So what other time was left? There's no other time. There was no other time. So you had to work. So you had to have, whether you work 3 or 4 days out of the week, you had to have so many hours in for that week, and you had to have those 2 summer school classes. So it didn't matter, where you were, what you're doing, your schedule was going to be packed. And that's kind of, what you need to stay focused, to stay on task, to be able to,
keep you out of trouble.
Keep you out of trouble, but your craft, you got to keep working at it. So.
Well, especially when you played, I think it's the strongest college football division is the Big Ten.
There you go, Big Ten. So nobody's disagreeing. That's what I'm talking about.
We here at Calvary, we get along real well. We have one source of contention, and that's in my house, everything's blue and white.
We did. So yeah, we're Penn State. Yeah. And we got a few Penn State folks. But these Pitt folks, they still brought me in here, so I appreciate it. And I remember watching you, watching the Penn State Indiana games and watching you in the Big Ten. And one year you were actually, weren't you the Big Ten Player of the Year?
Yeah, Big Ten Player of the Year.
I thought so.
Big Ten Player of the Year, my senior year, I was Big Ten Freshman of the Year, my freshman year. And my last year, Big Ten Player of the Year. So it was, yeah.
And you always ran that sort of like a wishbone offense.
We didn't do necessarily wishbone. We did some ice and split, and then we did with Cam Cameron, which I'm gonna get in that story a little bit. But Cam Cameron, when I came into, he had so many different ideas when it comes to offense. He's a pro guy from that perspective. So being a pro guy, he just had. We threw it in certain ways. We ran options in certain ways. It was different. It was different that I knew even in high school, but it was so good because it was so different and people didn't know how to cover it. So that's how we've been able to be in the top 7 every year that I was there in the statistical category in terms of offense. We just didn't have any defense. We couldn't stop anybody.
I watched a lot of the highlights, and I remember all the highlights I'm seeing from Indiana is people chasing you around. And, you always had that cutback, you were always doing the moves, and you were always a tough guy to get a hold of and to track down. I watched some of the highlights when you came into the pros, and some of the incredible catches that you made. And you'd come across the middle, you would catch that ball, knowing that huge guy is going to blow you right up.
Yeah.
But now, how do you, I guess the question I want to ask is, where do you get the courage to touch that football as it's coming through, and you seeing this guy that's 300 pounds coming as full speed at you?
Well, you're going to get hit anyway. Okay. So why not go ahead and catch the ball? But it's just part of it. Like, you play the game so much, you know if the linebackers, depending on the defense and what they're running, it's cover 3 or cover 2, if the linebackers going to be there, if the safety's going to be there, and you know when to get down or not. But you can't get down and not have that ball. If you go up and you alligator arm it, they're gonna talk about you so bad, and you could literally end up off the team from that perspective, because you got to sell out for your team and do what you have to do. So for me, it was all, and I had to learn that. When I say learn, I mean coming across the middle, because I was always a quarterback, coming across the middle, catching that ball, and knowing I'm gonna get whacked on the other end. And when you did get whacked, you were so surprised. So when you jumped up and caught the ball and you looked around, and then you just like, okay, let's keep on running. Because most times you didn't know, you normal time you get whacked. So when you didn't get whacked, it was kind of surprising for you.
Now, when you came into the NFL, you were drafted by the Steelers.
Yeah.
And did you know before the draft that you were going to be a wide receiver?
Yeah. So you go to the combines, which are already happened. I think I was in March. So when I came in, I wanted to be a quarterback, but no team, we had 3 teams that would even consider me to play quarterback. Everybody else wanted to play wide receiver, everybody else wanted me to play flanker. And this is much like what happened to me when I came into high school. Nobody wanted to give me a shot at quarterback. They all said, you're too short, you're not gonna be fast enough, but we'll put you wide receiver. I'm not fast enough, but you're gonna put me wide receiver. Stuff like that. And then that's the same thing when it came to playing in the pros. It was just you're too short. You have the arm strength, but you're just a short guy, and we can't be the team and take a chance on you. So when I went to the combines, I trained. I did all the stuff with the wide receivers. I ran the 3rd fastest time there, which was a 4.42 at the time. The cone shuttle, I had the fastest cone shuttle. I only dropped 1 ball, and it was because Joey Harrington threw it so far above my head. So I went upstairs. I went upstairs after having a great workout. Coaches were telling me, you did real good. I'm trying to stay humble. I go upstairs, I shower, I change, I get out of my clothes, eat, get in the bed, give me some rest, and be a wide receiver, right? We want you to come downstairs and work out as a quarterback. What? They brought me, I had to get dressed, they gave me a new set of clothes, I came downstairs, and they worked me out as a quarterback. And I had one of the top ratings in that combat class for being a quarterback. But at the end of the day, you're too short. So at that time, you didn't have a lot of guys who were my height, and that they were allowed to be able to play quarterback. So that was the difference. And for me, it was a change, but God has given me the ability to be able to do it. Once I made up in my mind, okay, Lord, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to walk in this light and play this wide receiver position, that's when it began to change for me.
Antwaan, the Lord's blessed me over the years to be able to lead quite a few people to Christ, and everyone is every single time. But it seems like, people they hit rough times in their lives. They lose someone that they love, or maybe they lose their job. Tough times. They start looking for meaning in life, and they start looking for more, and they come to know Christ then. But your story's a little different, though, isn't it? You were pretty much on top of the world when you came to know Christ, right?
Yeah, well, I was at the time when I grew up in the church. And let me tell this story. Okay? I grew up in the church. When I say grew up in the church, I went to church every day. Monday night prayer meeting, Tuesday Bible study, Wednesday was old folks meeting, Thursday was young folks meeting, Friday was your regular service, Saturday was youth choir rehearsal, and then Sunday you had 3 services. You had 8 o'clock service, you had 11 o'clock service, and you had to come back for the 7:30 service. Right? 3 services, but I'm not done. Because you had Sunday school that you had to go to, which were different. And then you had YPWW that started at like 6 o'clock. Young people willing to work. So on Sundays, I said to say we were in church all the time. And I was just like, do we do anything else? Like, this is all we did. And it was, at the time, I didn't get it at the time. But we grew up in this small bubble. Like, it was an African-American church, Pentecostal church. I didn't know nothing. That's all I knew was our church, and when I went to school, all African-American church, I didn't know white folks lived for Christ until I got to Indiana University. I'm serious, I didn't know. It was unbelievable. I was walking to class, I was getting out of class, and the guy was like, this white guy walked by, he said, you coming to chapel? I said, chapel? He said, yeah, we talk about Jesus. I was like, I said, what you know about Jesus? He's like, come on to chapel, you will see. I went to chapel and I was blown away. There was white people there, black folk there, Chinese. I said, all these people live for Jesus? And he was like, yeah. I was like, what? So for me, that was the first time I experienced, like, wait a minute, God's love reaches everybody. Like, it was, and I did not know that. And it was, for me, it was a huge change. So for me, I grew up knowing Christ, but as I went to college, I went astray. I was a lost sheep, so to speak. I got away from that, and I wasn't going to Bible study like I should. And when I did go, I was always focused, okay, what am I doing when I get out of here? So it wasn't really a focus on Christ. My senior year, God really saved me and removed anything else that was outside of Him. My senior year in college. And I was like, God, I said, I'm done with anything that's outside of you. I said, help me to be able to live for you. He saved me, He delivered me. Amen. And I say, at that time, I wasn't struggling, I wasn't without anything. It was just, I was fed up with trying to do things on my own. Like, I knew He had something better for me. And I know that's the same thing as for people in the crowd, the same people who are in this world who are going through the same things. You don't have to be so low to the ground to experience God. You don't have to lose your family member to come to know God. Those things, that sometimes that happens. You know, you're so down, you know it, you feel like you've hit a wall and you know God is going to be there for you. You don't have to hit a wall, but you have to know that God is bigger and better than you are any day of the week. And not only that, He sent His Son to die for you. So the sins that you've already done, once you ask for forgiveness, He throws them in the sea of forgetfulness for His own sake. He doesn't even want to remember them. So you don't hold guilt on yourself for anything that you have done that was wrong. It's time to move on. Once you surrender your life to Christ and He's forgiven you of your sins, it's time to walk in a new way. And He said that creature, meaning you, are new. Everything is new about you now. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you speak, your thoughts. He wants to change you in such a way that what you did yesterday, it don't even matter. It matters about what you're doing today and how I'm working through you today. And watch, and what I realized as even in my senior year, now get this, now I'm the quarterback for 4 years, All-American, All Big Ten, broke all the records you can imagine, and I feel like I got people following me, right? I'm the quarterback. When God delivered me and saved me and changed me, the following I got once He delivered and saved me outweighed the following I had before as I was this college quarterback and All-American. The following I had after that was so much more amazing because now it wasn't just about football. People might come and talk to me about football, and then I'll start talking to them about Christ. A conversation that would normally 2 or 3 minutes became 10 minutes. But when they left, they had more to take with them when they left because it was about Christ. So the platform, the way you have to look at it is all of us are given this platform, okay? And it's not for our own being. Nothing that we have, nothing that God has given us is just for us, okay? We have to be giving. We have to be giving people, be willing to give of our finances, of our time, of everything when it comes to that matter. So God has given this platform. You can be the CEO of a company. You can be the mid-worker of the company. You can be a housewife. God has given you a platform. It does not matter. Whatever that platform God has given you, he's giving it to you for a reason. For you to continue to reach out to people and tell people about him. Because it doesn't matter if you are an NFL player and all these people are following, you have this big platform and you do not share. It does not matter if you are the housewife or the CEO and you don't share. God has put you in those places for you to share. Because guess what? There's other housewives, there's other NFL players, there's other CEOs and other workers who need to know about Christ. So God has put us in these different places for us to come to know him. And you do not, coming to know Christ, you do not have to be down to the floor, back to the ground, nowhere else to go. God can deliver you even at your highest points. So I'm glad you asked that question because that's what people always think. Like, I got to be, so hurt, so down. Something's got to happen for me to come to Christ. No, you can come to Christ whenever. God, he wants you right now. He is a jealous God. He is jealous and he wants you all to himself for his work, for his kingdom.
Another reason I brought that up is you hear so much, and you've heard it for years, the temptations that surround young athletes. Yeah. Especially, and you're almost you're a demigod on a campus, some of these campuses, and it's all about the football program. It's all about and it's almost as if you're elevated at that status. Yeah. You see so many young folks with incredible talent, and they struggle with the temptations that are coming out in their life. And what can we do as a congregation for young people to try to let them see, it's not about their glory, the personal glory.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing we can do as a congregation, as people, and as people who live for Christ, we just have to teach them. We have to teach them, we have to show them, we have to share stories of what we went through, because I can tell you right now, I'll be the first to raise my hand, my life has not been perfect. There's things that God has delivered me from to get me to where I am. And if I hadn't gone through those things, I wouldn't appreciate it, I wouldn't understand, I wouldn't be able to speak to those people who are going through the same things. Yeah. So you talk about temptation, those temptations are everywhere. Now, it may be more for college players because they're held up by the students and coaches and stuff like that with this certain type of status, but everybody goes through that. Everybody has this temptation. So it doesn't matter if you're the NFL player, the NBA player, if you're a church member, if you are just a husband and wife, you have one kid, the husband is going to be tempted, the wife is going to be tempted. It just comes down to how much we're going to dive into God and ask God to continue to keep us. Because that's the thing, it's nothing, you can't keep yourself, you can't keep yourself, none of us can keep ourselves from committing this sin, from getting involved with this temptation. We have to ask God to help us, to keep us from it. And it's the same thing with the college students. I mean, being on campus and having somebody on campus. When I seen that guy when they came to chapel, I was just like, I was blown away. Like, we got somebody on campus talking about Jesus. Like, it was, for me, it was just so, it was different. And that's what we have to do for the young people, because the temptation is there. The distractions are even worse now than it was when I came up. So much more distractions, so many things get your eyes off Christ. And obviously the temptation is there, and with that being said, we just have to be able to teach them. We got to reach out and do as much as we can, because if not, then they don't know, and we got to share those stories that, hey, it may look like everything has been so well with me, but I've been through it. I have not been perfect, and being able to share those stories, and then they can certainly relate.
Let me shift gears a little bit. Now, we were talking about the stories and such like that. Now, when you came to the Steelers, at that point in time, I remember we were all talking about the Steelers from the 70s. The powerhouse, and I'd go to a lot of the games, and they would keep bringing these guys out. I saw a Joey Porter interview once where he said, no, it does seem like no matter what we did, they kept dragging out Joe Green for us to everybody to look at. So you came to a team with an incredible history, to a fan base that was hungry to win again, and a lot of frustration that came into that. And as you became a part of that team, now when you started, Cordell Stewart was our quarterback, is that correct? Or?
Yeah, Cordell was, he was our quarterback that year.
And then Tommy Maddox came in.
And then Tommy got hurt, and then Ben ended up being our starter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so you got to see a lot of changes in a short period of time, and Bill Cowher being the coach at the time as well.
Yep, Bill Cowher coached those first 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
As it started and the team started to get stronger, started to look like they were going to get somewhere. Describe to me the excitement of being a part of a successful team like that.
Well, when you come to this, I can tell you right now, when I got drafted, I was like, Pittsburgh. I was like, where's that? Like, I had no idea. I grew up in the bowl. I got to Indiana. I knew some different places, but Pittsburgh, I was just like, I looked at my brother. I was like, where is Pittsburgh? We pull out a map. We look, oh, okay. All right, okay. And then we started learning about the history. Then we started hearing about this fan base. And I was like, oh my goodness. I said, this is one of the best franchises in the world. And then when you get there and you begin to experience some of it, along comes the pressure. Not just the pressure to compete, but the pressure to conform. Okay? The pressure to conform. The Bible talks about do not be conformed to this world, but be changed by the renewing of your mind. So I wanted to make sure I was not going to conform to the way of the world. Not the way of the Steelers, but the way of the world. Okay? The Steelers have a great track record in terms of making sure they have the talent and winning and stuff like that. But when you come in that locker room, you come to a totally different environment. Yeah, you come to the same college locker room, you got some things going on, but when you come to a pro locker room, it's totally different. You're dealing with all grown men from different walks of life, and they'll be doing their thing, the other person will be doing their thing. The question is, are you going to stand for Christ? Are you going to draw that line in the sand and be able to stand for Christ? So I was able to do that, and with that being said, the pressure now that was on us to succeed, to win, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't the pressure that a normal person would feel because I was walking with Christ. Christ was with me as I walked through this path. And for me, coming here, realizing this fan base, knowing the organization as I got to know the organization, and us being on this championship run, and even when I think about the actual Super Bowl season, we got to a point, we were having Bible studies on Wednesday before we went out on the field.
Wow.
It was me, Jeff Hardings, Willie Williams, Troy were coming there. I'm trying to think who else was coming in. Ray Jackson, who was the player development, we were having in his office. We would start out, it would just be two or three of us. By the time we got to the end of the season, we didn't have any room in Ray's room, and Ray's room was connected to the weight room. The whole weight room was kind of full. Somebody here working out? No, we didn't talk about Christ right before we went out. And that was on Wednesdays. We started doing it on Thursdays as well. By the time we got to the Super Bowl, okay, we had half the team in that Bible study on Wednesday. So we had half the team, and the rest of the team who wasn't coming, they'll be walking past the door. Hey man, put a prayer in for me. They'd walk past trying to listen to what we were talking about. It was so unbelievable, and it continued to grow. We continued to do it, and it was just like, we look back and we started talking about that. And Jeff didn't want to start talking about, where we came from because, let's just focus on now. We don't want to get to that yet because we didn't want to mess it up because that's the way we were going. Yeah. But we started to reminisce a little bit, man. We started this back, in training camp. First week of the season, having these Bible studies on Wednesday before we went out. And it was great because we had an opportunity to see God work. And God worked for us in a way that was different because we had a lot of firsts that went on that year. We were the first team to be a 6 seed and went out and win a Super Bowl. We was the first, I think at that time, Ben was the youngest quarterback to play in a Super Bowl or something like that. So we had that going for us. And then I was the first and only wide receiver to be able to throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So all these firsts happened, but they only happened because of the prayer that we were putting in and us coming together. That's what we believed the whole time. So it wasn't as if that, you know, what happened on the field, what happened in the locker room changed us coming together even more. It wasn't by coincidence. It didn't happen just because, oh, we're just a good team. Nope, we were praying for our teammates, we were praying for, you know, victory, we were praying for, you know, no one to get hurt from injury and all that. And we were praying, you know, for us to win this Super Bowl, you know, and and the Bible studies we were having was so awesome because we were talking about the prayer, but then we went into our families, you know. God, help us to be good men. Help us to be able to lead and steward and be able to lead our families from that perspective. So it wasn't just one thing. Every week it was something else, but everything that we did pertained to us as men, us as a team, and where we were going. So it worked out when it came to our families and everything, and us on that championship run and not succumbing to the pressure, because it's a lot of pressure to go out and compete. But we feel like this is just what we do. You know, not cocky, but this is just what we do. We've been doing it, and God has blessed us to get this far. He gonna be with us, and he sure was.
As the season's progressing, and you know the people are coming, and I understand, you know, more than anything, the love of God. When we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Love one another. Yeah, but how about when you got to play the Bengals, or you got to play the Ravens, or you know, I mean that's
we got to get something straight now. Ain't no love on that field now. No. You got a job to do. You got to go out and do it. So when it came to playing the game, that wasn't part of it. God wanted us to love them. And we could love them after that 60 minutes was over. That's just part of it. I couldn't, you cannot play that game and run up to a guy and give a guy a hug. You can't do that. You gotta be ready to knock him out. Because if not, you're gonna get knocked out. And that's the nature of the game of football. I mean, when you look at it, it's not, it's blood, sweat, and tears. It's hurt and pain. It's heartache. And you want to be on the good side of that. So when it comes to the love part, as you see after the games, we hugging, shaking hands. That's the love part, and that's it. But when it comes to strapping up and playing that game of football, you show up or you gonna get showed up from that perspective. So there's no way getting around it. That is the competition. Excuse me, the competitive edge that you have to have in order to play that game of football. Now, I say football, but basketball is no different. There's no love. Baseball is no different. Now, they shouldn't be beaming each other with the baseball, which they do sometimes. But there's no different. It's a competitive edge, and I'm going to impose my will on you, and you're not going to like it. I don't care if you like it. I'm coming after you. That's part of the game, you know. And again, afterwards, you're my buddy. But not during that 60 minutes. I can't stand you, you can't stand me. Let's go play. Especially not Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's the worst. Any other? Yeah.
I remember the season, and I remember watching you throw a touchdown pass against Cincinnati. It was one of I think Mike Wallace was the receiver at the time.
Cincinnati, yeah.
Now you did that same move that we saw later on in Super Bowl 40, where you started to your left with it, and then you sort of turned around and came back to the right. Now at that point, I mean, you're in the backfield, you're probably 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and you've got that ball. What do you do if he's not open?
Run. So the way that works is I have 3 options on that play.
Good.
One I don't consider, and as I give you the 3 options, I want you to say all together A, B, or C, or which one you think is the option I would probably never choose. Okay?
Okay.
Option 1, that's 1, 2, and 3, okay? Yell out the one you think that I probably would never use. Option 1, run. Option 2, pass it to Hines. Option 3, pass it to Willie Parker. Option 3. We used to tease Willie all the time about that. Like, man, I'm not throwing you this ball, man. Willie Parker he wasn't sure-handed. He was sure-footed. He could run past you, through you, and make you miss and all that type of stuff. But as we ran that play, as I'm coming around, I had 3 options. My first option was try to get that ball down to Hines. And obviously in that Super Bowl, it was open. so I came around and obviously gave it to Hines. If I couldn't get to Hines, I would run the ball and try to get up the field. And obviously that third option, trying to throw it back on the other side to Willie, we just never, we never really explored that. But that play, talk about that play we ran against Cleveland early in the year on that last stretch run that we had when we needed to win those 4 games to get in. And we just ran it to see how it would look, how it would work. And sure enough, it worked the same way against Cleveland. We turned around and ran it in the Super Bowl. Now, we had practiced that play throughout the Super Bowl practices, those 2 weeks leading up to the game. And obviously, we're practicing during the season. You got to have the right timing, the right down and distance. You have the right spot on the field. We were a little bit closer than we would have liked. We would like it a little bit further out. But we ran it, and it worked out. And as Hines caught it, you could see he caught it and kind of like leaned right into the end zone. You want that to be an end zone or not catch, from that perspective. So when they called it in the huddle, I'm telling you what, I just kind of looked over at Hines. He kind of tapped me. And I just kind of lit up like a light bulb. But you got to keep your cool. Remember I talked about pressure? Jesus was with me. Because I'm telling you, when you call a play like that, you are so ready to go to run it, but you can't, you got to be able to hold it. And I obviously handed off to Willie. Ben made a great block. Jeremy Tooman made a good block. When you have that play like that, everybody has to do that part. If one person on that play didn't do that part, that play doesn't work. So it doesn't take one guy. I'm thankful that I was the guy that threw it to Hines and Hines caught it. But if we didn't get the proper blocking, the proper spacing, the proper block by Willie, the proper fake, by Ben, the proper fake by Willie, and me coming up, even as I came up with the ball, actually pressing the line, which brought some of the guys up to me, which freed up Hines even more. So when you run a play like that, everything has to work, and it certainly worked out for us.
It was a beautiful stretch, but it was frustrating. I remember that Super Bowl because during the playoffs, it seemed as if our offense was unstoppable.
Yeah.
It was just killing them. And then the offense sort of bogged down a little bit in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it did. And that just comes with the territory when you look at the way we got into the playoffs. We were 7-2 at one point, and then we lost our next 3 games, which made us 7-5, and now we're sitting there with this. We're sitting at 7-5, and we're trying to figure out a way. Like, all right, we came together. Like, we got to get in this playoffs. Now we're sitting there with these games left, and at the time, if you win, typically if you win 10 games, 10 wins get you in. That's what we say. 10 get you in. But we lost to Kansas City that year, and because we lost to Kansas City, and they had 10 wins. They would go before us. So we had to win 11 games. So here we are sitting here at 7-5 with these 4 games left, and we have to win all 4 of these games to be able to get in because we wrote it up on the board. If we win only 3 of these games and Kansas City finish out with 10 wins, they would go before us. So in our mind, we're like, all right, we got to win all 4 of these games. We looked at each other, everybody talking about it, we know we can do it. And then obviously when we got in the playoffs, offense was on point, defense was going mad, and we had the opportunity to come back and play against Peyton Manning and get him back because they beat us so bad early in the year. Obviously, we had an opportunity to play against Cincinnati and get back at them because they beat us early in the year as well. And that's just how it worked. And when it came to the offense not really getting going in the Super Bowl, it just came down to our passing game not really getting going because Willie was running the ball, JB was running the ball good. Willie had that 75-yard run, so that play that we had in terms of that reverse pass was big. It certainly sparked the offense and helped us get that win.
It was an incredible play, and it's an iconic picture. I see it all over the internet and everything. If you're just pulling that ball back and getting ready to throw it, but when you started a little bit to tell us a little bit about when the play was called, and of course you don't want to tip your hat to the defense and anything else. Do you think more along the lines of, I guess along the pressure of making it work? Do you worry more about what can go wrong, or do you just envision it? Because I'm thinking you're going to go back there. What if Ben misses a block? What if I underthrow Hines? What if Hines drops the ball after all?
So the idea that you run it so much in practice that it's embedded in you. Like, this is what you see. This is what you know. This is how we know it's going to work. This is how we prepare for it. And a lot of that is just like when you look at different life situations, we get to the point where we are very habitual. We're very religious about things that we do over and over and over again. You know, so, and it's no different with that. Like that's no difference in the approach we took with that play and the plays that we run. If we had that practice, if we were practicing that during the week, and say I threw the pass a couple of times and we didn't connect, or we ran the play and somebody didn't get the right block, they would take that play and take it out of the playbook, and it wouldn't have been in the playbook for that week. Okay. So you're not worried about if it's going to work. You know it's going to work because if we practice it, so we're going to go ahead and impose our will against them and work and do this play because we worked it over and over again. We know where everybody's supposed to be. We know how it's supposed to happen. You can always get changes. Somebody gets loose or whatever, and you got to make a play out of it. But when it comes to practicing and doing it over and over again, when we did that, we knew, hey, this is an opportunity for us to get in and do it.
But you have a guy like Heinz Ward catching the ball.
Yeah.
And you have to feel good about that. And I like to use illustrations in my preaching, and that's one I've used before. You know, when you let that ball go, you had the faith that Heinz was going to catch it.
I had confidence.
This is somebody who had not let you down before, and you had no reason to think he's ever going to let you down. And that's how our Lord works for us. You know, he's never let us down in our lives, ever. So why at times does our faith waver to where we just can't trust him? I always said, if our faith could just be stronger, what an incredible life we would live.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The Bible talks about in several scriptures, "O ye of little faith." We have different issues that come into our life, and it seems like these are mountains in our life. It seems that these are just things that we cannot get over. And when these things come about, sometimes we turn to friends and loved ones for questions and trying to ask, how do I get over this? How do I need help with this? Those things are great. Asking them, that's fine. Give them some advice from godly people, that's fine. At the end of the day, you got to come back to God and ask him for help and ask for support, ask for guidance. Because what he does is he clears up any confusion for you to see better. And when you humble yourself and come to God, God takes this picture. If you're driving in your car and you don't turn your windshield wipers on and it's very blurry, you can't really see, God is like that windshield wiper. He comes in and windshield wiper comes on and you can see everything clearly. And that's how God is for us. He is there for us to come to him, ask him to pull out that windshield wiper, make this clear for me. Help me in this situation. The Bible talks about when we come to him and we pray, I think it's in Mark when it talks about, it says, "Verily I say unto you, therefore whoever says to this mountain, be thou removed and be cast in the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but believes what he has asked for shall be done, he shall have exactly what he asked for." Having that ability, that faith, to tell a mountain to be removed and be cast in the sea. The analogy of this scripture is just talking about the mountain that's in your life. The mountain is in your life. So ask yourself right now, what mountain is in your life? What situation is in your life that you can't overcome it? It's not for you to overcome. It's for God to remove and for you to pray and ask God to remove it. And tell the mountain where to go. You have to have faith to that point to be bold enough to speak to your situation and tell that situation to be removed. And we can do that. God has given us that power and authority because we live for Christ. When you come to know Christ, you have that same power and authority that Christ has. And what makes, for me, it's such a joy, and I got to tell a story about my wife in a second, but what's such a joy about it is that he tells us again in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John just about the things that he has done on earth when he was here. The great things that he's done. Greater things we will do. We can do the things that he did when he was here, but then greater things we can do. And it's interesting. So you mean to tell me we can lay our hands on people and they can heal? That's what we have to believe. We can say a word and somebody be healed, just as Jesus did. Jesus walked on water. Well, we know we can do that if our faith is there, because Peter did. Peter stepped out on that water, had all the faith he could, but the minute he looked at his circumstances, when he began to look at the wave that was on the side, is when he began to sink. So it's no different than us. Don't look at your circumstances. Don't look at the issues that's around you. Focus on Christ. Just like Peter did. When he stepped out on that boat, he was focused on Christ, and he wasn't looking anywhere else. The minute he turned and looked and put his focus on his circumstances or his issue or his mountain, so to speak, he began to sink. So for us, it's no different. You have to focus on Christ. You have to look at that situation, tell that situation go, and make sure you focus on Christ and knowing that Christ is going to lead you out of it. Because at the end of the day, he wants to. This is what he do. He's in the business of delivering. He's in the business of loving. He's in the business of making your picture clear. All right, so don't in any way, and I'm share the story about my wife real quick. So my wife we have 6 kids. Okay, I got a wife and 6 kids. And yeah, I get that everywhere I go. How you making it today? Well, should you be at home with them? So we got 6 kids, and this was our 4th kid when she had Aaron. So I'm doing, the honeydew list. The honeydew list is all the way down to the floor. I come home, I get them all situated. She needs me to go out and do this honeydew list.
You don't say, honey, I'm an NFL player. I don't have to do that kind of thing.
Man, look here. If I said that, I'll be in trouble. I'll be reading stuff in the paper. Oh, Antwaan Randle's wife hit him upside the head. You got to be, that's the other thing too. God shows us in a lot of different ways. Like us as men, we are men and we lead our homes. But you better make sure you walk and love your wife like never before. You have to love them and give them what they need, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for her and the kids. So, and that's a whole nother topic. We'd love to get into it one day.
Okay, we'll have you back again.
Well, that's a good one. But my wife, she had me doing this honeydew list, and I'm going around, and I had left the house, and she called, and she said, you need to come home. I said, what's wrong? She said, my legs are hurting. She said, and they're hot. She said, I can't move them. I said, what do you mean they're hot? She said, Antwaan, they're hot to the touch. I said, okay, I'll be there in a minute. So I got off the phone. I'm rushing. I'm trying to get all the stuff. I get in line, and she calls me again. She said, where are you at? You need to stop what you're doing and come home. I said, is it that serious? I said, so at this point, I'm thinking something must be really wrong. So here I am in line, and I'm upset that I'm in line. I got the stuff that she wanted me to get, but I got to go home. And now I'm thinking I'm going home. I'm going to come right back out in a couple of hours to get it. But I end up putting the stuff down, and I'm following. I get in the car and I go home. And when I get to the house, she can't move. I touch her legs. It's almost like I'm touching a warm pot or something. It's just how hot her legs were. So she said, we need to call 911. I said, call 911? We getting ready to call Jesus. Jesus didn't come right then. We called 911. So I called on Jesus. I ended up calling 911. They came and brought her out, and we took her to the hospital. Lo and behold, she had blood clots everywhere. So if any doctors in the room, they know. So you have a superior vena cava, which is the main vein. It starts here and it goes all the way down, and then it splits between both legs, okay? So she had blood clots from the bottom all the way up. And every time the doctor came in the room, he came to give us bad news. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's what doctors are doing. That's what they're for. They are the bearer of bad news. That's what they have to come tell you. But we have to realize who the real physician is when it comes to Christ. God is the true physician. So every time this doctor came in the room, I wasn't receiving what he was telling me.